T L
It's time!
W
T L
I think we got a show. Oh yeah, we got a show.
W
T L.
And welcome to WTL, everybody. That stands for Where's the Line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I am your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
Jabron.
the Parlay Pounder.
You got it. We're back.
And I don't know if there's a better week, half a work week, I don't know. It's Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
We got NFL football pretty much from here on out. For those listening to us on Tri-City Radio, we got bumped up to the 10 a.m. window, and that's going to lead us right into their NFL coverage, where they're going to have all three games on the radio. That is 1460 AM, 92.1 FM in the Tri-City area of Nebraska, of course. So,
sure.
Should we start with the 11:30 game?
Let's do it.
All right. A place that you know a little bit about now. Green Bay. The Packers are heading on over to Detroit to take on the Lions. That is going to be an 11:30 kickoff to get the day started. On Fox, Detroit has moved into a 7.5-point favorite. Jabron, do you agree with this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Detroit Lions are the better team, and obviously they should be favored. But this is a lot of points to lay on a short week. The Green Bay Packers still need a win to stay in the playoff race. Despite recent losses, a lot of their games are competitive. We just saw them beat an overly matched Chargers team that have a lot more talent than the Green Bay Packers do. And if the Packers are playing at home, they got a pretty dang good shot to play, very competitive football, especially against an in-division rival here in the Detroit Lions. I think this is too much points. I'm going with the Packers plus 7.5.
Well, now this is in Detroit, but I don't want to take away from the thought process that it's a short week.
Yeah.
And these are conference foes that know a lot about each other. And Detroit, they had to come from behind to beat a very inept Chicago Bears team. I mean,
no doubt.
They're my guys. That's my team. But they had to come from behind, and a lot of things had to break their way in order to just win that game. So in the NFL, if you're talking over a touchdown, and this line has stayed right at 7.5, it hasn't moved whatsoever. But it is a shortened week. I get that. But I got to side with the Lions here as well.
The Packers is what you're saying.
Yeah, the Packers are going to cover that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way you look at this, Andy, as the last 10 meetings between the Lions and the Packers, I get that Aaron Rodgers is in that for, some of those, but it's been a split right down the middle who wins these games, but it's Green Bay that's covered 8 of those last 10 games. Green Bay, they cover 7.5. That's way too much. A free touchdown. I take a stab with the Packers.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement there. What about this over-under at 47? That's actually been bet down just a bit. It's squarely on 47, I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think that might be a little too many points for this quick of a game this early in the week, especially with that Detroit Lions defense is pretty dang good, and the Packers defense is being a sneaky good defense this year, keeping teams low. And Detroit Lions, Jared Goff, I think, had 3 picks last week. He'll definitely probably try to clean that up, but I just don't see them as, big point pounders right now. So I would have to say, if I had to take a stab on this one, it is on the under.
Yeah, and Jared Goff, before that performance last week, he was right there, top 2 or 3 as far as passing yards, passing percentage. He's quietly having just a fantastic season.
Great year.
Detroit.
Yep, love it.
All right, should we move on to the afternoon game?
Let's do it.
3:30 kickoff, CBS. Another division rivalry here. It's the Washington Commanders heading on over to Dallas. And oh boy, Dallas, a 12.5-point favorite.
Yeah, Andy, and this one has opened up huge. This started as 8.5 line. Moved all the way up to 12.5. Now, I just think, Andy, with the way the Dallas, the reason that it's getting so wide is because the Dallas Cowboys look like they're in, end season form, looking like a playoff team. Just smacked my Panthers this past weekend, but everybody does that. But I don't dislike the Washington play here, especially if it's over 10 points. If this gets to 13.5 to 14 points, I'm definitely taking Washington. Yeah. I just think Washington They no matter what, they put up yards, and they kind of eat a lot of clock as well. So no matter what, if it gets over 13.5 points, if it gets over 3 scores, a touchdown and 2
Yeah.
field goals, I'm definitely siding with the Commanders here.
Yeah, and Washington sure does put up the passing yards, that's for sure. And I think what you're seeing is last 5 games, Washington has dropped 4 of them. So they're 1-4 last 5 games, and that might be what's attracting so many bettors towards Dallas. And, of course, it's like a Thanksgiving tradition. Along with Detroit, you're going to get the Dallas Cowboys, and they tend to play fairly well in these games. But even if they do play well and they do put up some points, Dak stays on track. That doesn't mean they're going to win by, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, I really don't think so. And the Commanders always play them tough. Doesn't matter the kind of year that they're having. Just like we're kind of talking about with the Packers and the Lions, I believe this is going to be a pretty good game. And I think the Commanders can keep it close. I do think Dallas wins the game probably by a score. I just don't see him beating them by 14 points or 13. So.
Yeah, and I'm seeing really across here, I'm looking at all these different books right now. I'm seeing 12, 12 and a half.
Yeah.
So, if you can get that 12 and a half for Washington, I think that looks like a pretty attractive play right now.
I do too, Andy. What about that over-under? I was kind of wondering how you were leaning on this to see what I could do about it.
Well, I'm looking at a lot of 48 and a half right now, 48 and a half.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of those games. It doesn't matter what kind of season Dallas is having or Washington. The over always smacks. I don't know why, but these two teams love to air it out against each other. 7 of the last 8 games between these two guys, Dallas and Washington, have smacked that over. I'm a little worried about the short week like we talked about in the previous game with Green Bay and Detroit. But here I'm thinking they're going to be showing out, and Dallas is more than happy to play kind of a back and forth, shoot it out style of game. It almost suits him now, and Dak has a big arm. He likes to showcase it, like I mentioned earlier, Washington can move the ball through the air. That young quarterback, that rookie quarterback, he's not afraid to let it rip.
Yeah, 2 things I have on the over, Andy. Dallas has scored a combined 82 points across the last 2 games. That means they are rolling. And then as for Washington, they put up over 400 yards against the Giants last week. So I like the over. I like Sam Howell. Like you said, passing yards over 250. That's one of my side bets for this game. But I definitely like that over. I think it's the best pick of these first 3 games.
Cha-ching, there we go. We have a best bet already. We agree on something here.
There we go.
And, of course, this game is in Dallas, like we mentioned, so it's going to be indoors, Jerry World. They're going to be on turf. It's going to be a fast game, and both teams like to light it up. So I think that over is the best bet here as well.
No doubt.
NFL does it right. I mean, it's Thanksgiving. They kick it off at 11:30, and then they take us all the way through the nightcap. Should we get to it?
Let's do it.
We are going to the NFC West. The San Francisco 49ers continue to roll, but they're heading on up to Seattle to take kind of an up-and-down type of Seahawks team here. Seahawks are a home full touchdown dog. It's just so – we're seeing some big point spreads here, not just on Thanksgiving Day where we're looking at 7.5, 12.5, a full 7 here. It's really been this way throughout the season once we got into week 3, 4, and 5 across the NFL. Big point spreads.
Especially in division rivals, which is pretty crazy, Andy. The reason that we're seeing this is that Seattle's had success recently. We might see a banged up Geno Smith or Drew Lock under center, and that is not good news for the Seattle Seahawks, who they're just scoring 14 points per game. So against the 49ers. So that is very tough against the 49ers to win with 14 points.
49ers are winning a lot of games. They're piling up those W's. I get it. They got a terrific offense when they're healthy. It looks like most of those guys are getting back into the lineup here. But they might be a victim of their own success when it comes to setting that point spread. They've only hit 1 out of the last 5 games have they covered, the 49ers. So I think there's a moment for pause there. Like we've been talking about this short week. We've been talking about how the playbook's going to be watered down a little bit. And I don't think the 49ers are going to have to show a lot of their hand here to just kind of push around the Seahawks.
Yeah, no, I agree, Andy. That's why I think backing the under at 44.5, 45, wherever it's at for you, I think is a very good play. especially because Seattle's offense, especially if Drew Lock's under center, will not score against this 49ers defense. And I think, McCaffrey gets his touchdown, Debo gets a touchdown, and the 49ers are kind of rolling, don't really have their foot on the gas. So I really think, like you said, this is kind of an easy win, free and breezy for the 49ers. I do believe if you can get this at 6.5, it's probably a safe bet that the 49ers win by a touchdown. But if it's at a full 7 or 7.5 plus Seahawks, I probably won't touch it.
Yeah, a lot of 7.5 starting to develop across the books, across the nation here. And this is a line that's been on the move. It opened up at 3.5, favoring San Francisco. Now it's all the way up to 7.5 on so many books here. A minus 365 money line. Stay away from that if you're on the 49ers. And you like that under? I'm seeing a lot of 43.5.
Yeah, 44, 43.5. I still think it's good. I do not see the Seahawks helping the 49ers a lot out in this point, race to 45 points, 43 points. No, I love the under. I think it's a very good bet. 49ers win this one easily.
Yeah, I think they're going to win this one easily too. It's just that when you get over a touchdown, maybe stay away from it. I probably will, and I'm hearing that from you.
I agree. Yep. Okay. Nope. Totally.
You got a parlay or anything?
I do have a parlay if we want to get to it.
Let's do it.
It's a player prop parlay. I had already talked about Sam Howell. He's just over 250 yards passing. And then I got my boy CMC, like I just said. No matter what, I think he's going to get his yards receiving, rushing together. 113 over 113. I believe that's going to smack. And then I'm going all the way to Monday night with Justin Tucker against the Chargers over 1.5 field goals. I think that locks up with them not having Mark Andrews as an outlet tight end. So I think they kick more field goals. I like all three of those plays. Sam Howell over on yards, Christian McCaffrey rushing and receiving yards, and Justin Tucker over 1.5 field goals.
Well, you're going to keep the sports books looking here. You're going to start at 3:30 on Thursday, and then you're going to take people all the way to Monday night for the
all the way across
on a kicker.
On a kicker.
And gotta love it. And what was the payout there?
That's putting 25 on it. It's 115, Andy.
Gotta love it. And yeah, Justin Tucker, you can't have him on your team without at least attempting 2 field goals. And if he attempts 2 field goals, he's probably making them both.
They're both going down for sure.
Well, let's take a minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. World class in every glass. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
Jabron.
Oh, parlay pounder.
You got it. We're back.
And we started off with a full slate of Thanksgiving Day NFL action coming your way. Well, guess what? The NFL has quite a bit more coming to you throughout the week. They're relentless. They're like a runaway freight train it's going to run you over, then come back around and run you over again.
They will.
So now we got a Friday game here?
A Friday game for the first time like ever, for sure.
Well, high school football is wrapping up across the nation. The NFL's like, okay, we'll go ahead and take Fridays as well then.
They take it all.
They will. So let's talk about the Miami Dolphins taking on the New York Jets, heading on up to MetLife Stadium. That is going to be, what do we got here? A 2:00 kickoff, November 24th. And I am looking at, wow, this line opened. This is crazy. This line opened up at what? -2.5 Jets? Yeah. And now it's a -10 Miami?
Well, I don't know about the Jets part because they should never be favored against the Miami Dolphins. But, yeah, it is all the way up to 10. Some people can still find it at 9 and 9.5, Andy. I'm seeing it at 9 on my book right now. But this is Obviously, this is a lot of points, like we said in the previous segment, but this is the Miami Dolphins versus the New York Jets.
Yeah.
The New York Jets just took down Zach Wilson. He is no longer the starter. They are starting another guy that's never played a lick in the NFL before. I have to go with the Miami Dolphins here, even if it's by 10 points. I think the Miami Dolphins, I think this is the biggest blowout of the week. I think this might be some 35-3 kind of stuff.
Yeah, and for all intents and purposes, New York's down to their third string quarterback here.
Yeah.
Rodgers is still down. I know he was talking about maybe coming back, and you hit the nail on the head there. That's why the line has moved so much.
Yeah.
Because New York's on their third string quarterback that just does not work in the NFL. And, we like to talk about the Chiefs and Herbert out there for the Chargers. But I'm telling you what, Miami and their offense has got it rolling.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Andy. The Dolphins are still the best offense in football. The Dolphins have also won and covered 8 of the last 10 games against the Jets. Yeah. Give me the Fins here, double-digit victory. The Jets have scored a combined 24 points in their last 3 games, Andy. Ouch. That is absolutely terrible. Dolphins roll.
Okay, well, the over-under is at a manageable 40.5. Are you feeling the over?
I think I am feeling the over, Andy, just because I think the Miami Dolphins might get there by themselves. They are really going to smoke these guys, and I really like. I don't know if I really like it, but I do like the over a lot better than the under.
Yeah, last 13 games, Miami has not only covered 9 times, but the under is actually smacked for the last 6 games. I just think that this is a different scenario here where we had a late scratch at the quarterback position. So many New York fans and fans across the nation were saying Zach Wilson needs to hang it up. Well, you're gonna get to see that here this weekend.
You got your wish. And yeah, you're talking about the Miami going under and all that kind of stuff. Their usual over-unders are right at about 56 to 58 points. So this is a lot less than that, obviously, playing a battered Jets team. So I really like the over if it's just at 40.
And I was looking at the injury report for the New York Jets, and Wilson still needs to be added to a few of these reports here. And I want to get your thoughts real quick on, I know you follow those Barstool guys.
Yeah.
And Dave Portnoy has filed a lawsuit against the NFL, and I think he actually named Commissioner Goodell because he made like $100,000 bet on the Bengals.
Yeah.
And, of course, Joe Burrow wasn't listed on the injury report, but he got off the bus in a cast on his wrist, and he hurt his wrist in the game and was out early. I don't know. I think he's got some grounds here.
He definitely has some grounds here, Andy. I'm on the same exact boat as he was. Obviously, if you listen to our show, you know that I was high on the Bengals that week.
Yes.
And I put some money on them, and I was not happy either because you shouldn't be able to be injured and not disclose it to the entire NFL, especially if there's money involved. We should be able to know what's going on. If they're going to allow betting, across all these platforms, and the DraftKings Sports app is the app of the NFL.
Yeah.
It's just we have to know that stuff if we're going to put the best information out there. So I believe he has very good grounds on this. Obviously, he's just going after Goodell because he's not very fond of him from his days as a Tom Brady hunker for the Patriots.
I think Goodell the Clown is still like their number 1 selling T-shirt over there.
Of all time. Yeah, of all time.
And you make a great point where, you have DraftKings as the NFL sponsor. Individual teams also have sports books as sponsors. For sure. And the Bengals have one of the longest standing sponsors in Betfred Sports. And here they are not disclosing injury information that's heavily going to affect a betting line. And this was against the rules before all this public money from the betting side, came into play here. That's a rule that was supposed to be followed anyway. So I think Cincinnati was going to get fined regardless.
No doubt.
Now you have all these people like Dave Portnoy, and just like you, I don't know if you put 100,000 on the Bengals, but you're probably right there with Dave.
Yeah, no, it's just a little less than that. Yeah.
All righty, let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
It's going to be Sunday night at SoFi Stadium, 7:20 kickoff on NBC. Ravens are 8-3. Chargers. How many times are we going to say the Chargers are underperforming, year after year after year? Or is that just who they are?
It's just game to game, year to year. I think it's just who they are, Andy. The Chargers have been growing increasingly frustrated. You can see it from their players. Like I said, I was out in Lambeau this past weekend to watch them, and you can tell that they have the best talent on the field against most of the teams that they play. And I wonder if it's just not taking a toll on the team in general, that they can't come up with these big plays at the big moments, and against a very, very good Ravens team. I don't see them getting right in this game. I like the Baltimore Ravens in this game for sure.
Yeah, Ravens straight up, I think, is a good bet here, is a good play. And Baltimore's defense, man, they got their defense back. They are spinning like a top right now. And unlike the last line that we talked about point spread wise, where the Dolphins opened up as a slight dog and now they're a 10-point favorite, huge flip, and then a lot of movement. This line opened up at 3.5, and it is staying at 3.5. The Ravens are the favorite on that key number there of 3.5. More than
no doubt. Yeah, no doubt, Andy. I do believe that they cover. I would like to see it at 3, just because the Chargers do have so many good offensive weapons, but I just believe that the Ravens are going to churn them out with their very nice running game, get the game going a little faster, and like you said, their defense stands up, and I believe that they will turn the ball over against this kind of sloppy Chargers offense. So give me the Ravens here by 3.5. I am looking at that under. Really, I really like the under here, Andy. Is probably my best bet of this game is that under.
So I bet you're looking at the updated line. It's sitting at a 48. I'm seeing a lot of 48s out there. And this is one of those totals that started at 44. 44.5 is where this opened up, and it shot up to 48. I think the books nailed it with that 44. I'm thinking a 21, 24 type of game here.
Yeah.
So that under is where I would be leaning, with it sitting at 48 right now.
No doubt, Andy. Like I said, I was looking at this at like 46.5, 47, and then when it shot up to 48, I said, "Oh man, yeah." Thank you, people, for betting this up, because the under is going to smack in this one, just because that Ravens defense is so good and the Ravens run the ball so much. It'll keep that game going fast. Chargers will be coming from behind like they always do, but it'll hit. The under is going to hit.
All righty. Well, we mentioned how the NFL does it right. We're getting you started here on Thanksgiving Day, and a happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. We're going to take you all the way through Monday night. NFC North, old rivalry here. The Chicago Bears are heading on up to Minnesota to take on the Vikings, who maybe they got something going here. The 6-5 Vikings trying to save their season. This point spread is currently at -3.5. The Vikings are your favorite at home.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that this is probably where the line should be. Yeah. I don't believe this is what it's going to be. I don't think this is going to be very close of a game. I believe Josh Dobbs got his first actual, smack in the mouth as a Minnesota Viking, but he still played very well, I thought, in that game last week. So I think he gets it going against these Bears and doesn't really let up. Justin Jefferson is surprisingly going to make his way back onto the field. I don't think the Bears have a chance at stopping them. I really don't. I think this might be a blowout for the Vikings.
You're beating up on my Chicago Bears, but you're also bucking the trend here. This line opened up at 5.5. It's been bet down to 3.5. You're totally going across. You're thinking it should be closer to 5.5 here.
I do. I think I would still feel very confident with the Vikings at a -6.5. I really do believe that they're a touchdown better than this team. I think that they're going to be able to score at will with Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison against this Bears defense. I'm jury's still out on Justin Fields. Against this pretty decent Vikings team, I like him at home, and I like him to win by at least 4 points for sure.
Heard the horn there. That means we're up against it. But real quick, got to get your thoughts on this total. Set at 43. Both of these teams, more time than not, have been smacking the under all season long. But here we are sitting at just a 43. Where you at?
I mean, that is right where it should be. This is right where the last game that we we talked about should be at that 43, 44 points.
Right.
If I had to lean away, it would be the under, Andy, just because I don't see the Bears scoring a lot of points here. And Josh Dobbs is going to get, I believe, 3 touchdowns for the Minnesota Vikings. And I think that's going to be enough to win this game. So I see this one at a 21-13, 21-17 game that the Vikings win.
And this is such a peculiar year in the NFL where I want to give credit to some defenses here, but I really think it's just a lack in offense. I mean, that's what's going on with Chicago. I mean, squarely, that's what's going on with Chicago. And Minnesota, obviously, they're on a backup quarterback that's kind of, hung out to dry, but then picked back up. And It's been a nice story. But, yeah, he had a dose of reality last week.
Yeah, it's been fun. But, yeah, like you said, you still got to play the game. And, I think the under more than likely will smack in this one as well.
All righty, you heard the horn, so let's take a minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Stock and Rod Company, an outdoor lifestyle brand for those seeking adventure. Whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, they got you covered. Visit stockandrod.com to get your wild game on. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I am your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
Jabron,
the Parlay Pounder.
You got it.
Hey, and Thanksgiving, it's one of these holidays that just keeps on giving.
Yep.
We talked about a lot of NFL action coming your way later on following the broadcast. If you are listening to us on ESPN Tri-Cities, that's 1460 AM, 92.1 FM out in central Nebraska. There's also some college football on Thursday.
No doubt about that. And
you put together a heck of a slate here. We're going to talk college football Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
No doubt about it.
Are you going to do a parlay, or are we going to save that for the
We're going to save that for the fourth and final segment. You got to keep the people waiting. You got to give me a little time to think about this. I think I got a good one cooked up for you, though.
I got a good one cooked up for you, although I love it. I mean, of course, everyone's going to have to stay tuned for that then.
No doubt about it.
Okay, we're going to head on down south to Mississippi, where the Ole Miss Rebels, they're 9-2. They're putting together a quietly good season here under old Lane Kiffin. It looks like he's got things going there for the Rebels. Yeah. They're going to play their in-state rival, the Bulldogs, who, kind of up and down. They're sitting at 5-6. This is a 6:30 kickoff at Davis Wade Stadium at Scott Field. And oh boy, Mississippi State is a home dog of 10 points.
Yeah, Andy. And I'm backing them here. I like Mississippi State in this matchup. Normally, I don't, love backing teams with, significant offensive struggles in a backup quarterback like the Bulldogs have been running with. But this is a rivalry game, Andy, where you can normally throw everything out the window as these teams just want to beat each other. Mississippi State also needs this win for bowl eligibility. Ole Miss is just there for the rivalry game. I like the Bulldogs with the points here. I do.
This is a peculiar line because I kind of got ahead of myself here. Yes, the point spread has moved all the way up to a full touchdown, P18, a field goal at 10 points. It opened up at 1.5.
Yeah, no doubt.
1.5.
It's a rivalry game, and obviously people jumped on the fact that it was so close, which you should have done. If you got Ole Miss by anything under a touchdown, great bet, because that's probably what it's going to be. But I just think there's too many points for a rivalry game. Mississippi State's going to be playing their butt off at home. Their crowd's going to be into it. I like the 10 points in my back pocket.
And to go to your point, Mississippi has only covered one time the last 5 times these two teams have met up. And yes, it's a rivalry game. There's a lot on the line. Bowl eligibility for the Bulldogs here. What more do you want? I think your casual bettors at early public money just looked at Lane Kiffin, what they've been able to do, and obviously a ton of money because they've bet it all the way up from a 1.5 point dog. Now the Rebels are a 10-point favorite. Crazy line movement here.
There is, Andy, but everybody's putting money on Ole Miss and stuff. They I'm not impressed with them. They just won
Hmm.
35-3 over Louisiana Monroe. That is the type of people that they're playing later in the season. You can take that as far as you want, but I'm not putting a lot of thought into them winning 35-3 last time out. This is a rivalry game that's going to feel a lot different. It's not going to be Louisiana Monroe out there. This is an SEC football team that knows how to get down with the best of them and their rival. So I got Mississippi State covering this one. I think it's good.
And the Rebels have had a couple, chances in a couple key games this year. They had a lot of eyeballs glued to the TV watching them, and they lost both of those games here. That's why they're 9-2. That's why they're still kind of under the radar.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Excuse me. We got that total at 54. This is the new SEC. This is Lane Kiffin. I do believe there's going to be a lot of points poured up. 54, though, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like this, Andy. Each of the last 6 games between Ole Miss and Mississippi State have gone under the total point line. I think that's a little too far up for them. I'm backing the under as well, Andy.
Yeah, I think, not much more has to be said about that. The under, this is 2 under type of teams here. Mississippi State, 6 of their last 6 games have gone under. So smack that under. We're not afraid of the under.
Yeah, no doubt about it. If Mississippi State wants to be in this game, like I'm saying, like I'm predicting them to be, their defense needs to come out and show that they can stop Ole Miss, and I believe that is what's going to happen. So I expect a low-scoring affair, and Mississippi State to cover that 10 points.
Ding, ding, ding. Hey, we agree on both of those.
Hey.
Like the Bulldogs, we like the under there. So,
Look at that.
Hey, we're getting in the holiday spirit here. A little togetherness. That's all right.
It's okay. It's okay.
All right, let's move out west to the Pac-12. This is a really, really good matchup. 2 elite teams that I think we both feel pretty good about. Number 6 ranked Oregon Ducks are heading on over to Corvallis to take on the 15th ranked Oregon State Beavers. Oregon State, that home dog at 13.5. Can you believe it?
Yeah, no, I can't believe it. Oregon State has a way better team than this to be disrespected like this, especially in-state rivalry game. Obviously, the reason that it is so high, the Oregon Ducks have that offensive firepower to blow the doors off anybody, and they've won 7 of the last 10 games against Oregon State. However, Andy, the Oregon State Beavers just went toe-to-toe with playoff contender Washington last week. If you remember, earlier in the season, Washington beat Oregon. They're one of the most balanced teams in the country. Oregon State is sound defensively and has a good running game, Andy, and that can help out a lot on the road. Lots of points here. Give me the Beavers. Give me the Beavers with 2 touchdowns. Easy.
I like the Beavers too. I did slip up there. The game is going to be in Oregon.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a little bit of justification there as far as the line movement, because this opened up as a 7.5 point favorite were the Ducks. Now they're 13.5, 14 points. I think that's unbelievable. You put into it how good Oregon State has been, how solid of a team they have. And then, this is a rivalry game where in years past where Oregon was ranked, in the top 10, Oregon State would knock them off, would win straight up.
Yeah, it's an anomaly. I get why the line's where it's at, just because of the Bo Nix things. They have to win this game to stay, in the college football playoff race. They have to win for Bo Nix to still be up for the Heisman, which I do believe they'll win the game. I just think 2 touchdowns is way too much against a very, very sound defense with the Beavers, and it being rivalry game. I could even see the Beavers winning this game.
Yeah, no doubt. The Ducks have rattled off 5 straight wins after that one lone loss. And Bo Nix, believe it or not, he has moved up as the front runner up for that Heisman. And I think a lot of that has to do with how good the Beavers defense were against Penix Jr., the quarterback from Washington.
No doubt about it, Andy. This pretty much game, I do believe, is the game for the Heisman Trophy. I mean, obviously, Pac-12, championship and all that kind of stuff kind of plays into it. But this is a huge win for Bo Nix, especially if he can show what he can do out there against a very, very good Oregon State team, like you said. So I don't believe it's right. I do believe Penix Jr. should still be the overall favorite to win, just because he's undefeated and has a lot more passing yards than anybody in college football. So I believe he should be, but Bo Nix can really gain some ground here if he can put these Beavers away.
Yeah, maybe a little side bet there. Lean towards Penix Jr. Keep an eye on that Heisman line.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to Saturday.
Let's do it.
Primetime football, the game. No jokes. Everyone knows what I'm talking about here. Ohio State, 11-0, number 2 in the nation, number 3 in the nation, depending on which poll you're looking at.
Yep.
Michigan Wolverines, they're also 11-0. All the scrutiny, all the off-the-field stuff. Coaches getting fired. They're still your 3.5-point favorite at home.
Yeah. Andy, I know I'm gonna be in the less majority here. I am going with Iowa State with those points. I need those 3.5 points in my back pocket. I'm looking at Ohio State and the points here. Bottom line, I was likely going to be the underdog. It's going to be the underdog, whoever it's going to be. Whichever way I'm getting points, I'm going with that team. I just believe this is going to be a knockout, drag-out fight. Two of the best teams in the country, two of the best teams to get that number 1 spot for the college football playoff. I like the 3.5 points in my back pocket just because of that.
I'll tell you what, once I got the hook there and it moved off of that key number of 3, now it's north of that at 3.5, give it to me all day. I do believe this is going to be a very tight one. It opened up as a coin flip. Michigan was a slim 1-point favorite. It's been bet up. So many pro-Michigan bettors out there.
Yeah.
Good reason. I get it. But now that you're talking more than a field goal in a game like this, so much on the line.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the way Michigan looked last week. I really didn't. I thought, all the off-the-field static, a coach losing one of your coordinators, it might be starting to add up here for the Wolverines.
I do too, Andy, and I got a couple reasons here. I think the Buckeyes are going to come out with a plan to completely neutralize Blake Corum and the Michigan offense. And on the other side, I also don't expect the Wolverines to be able to hold down Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think it's going to come down to 1 or 2 big plays, and I think he's going to make 1 or 2 of those big plays. So I like Ohio State. I like their over-the-top passing attack a lot better than Michigan. And like I said, I think that Ohio State defense has something cooked up for Blake Corum to slow him down.
And if there's a defense out there that had the playmakers, the talent to scheme something up to slow down the Wolverines in that high-octane, power, smash-mouth offense, it would be the Buckeyes.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Okay, that total is now at 46. What are you thinking?
I mean, I think you kind of got to look at the over here. Each of the last 9 games between Ohio State and Michigan have gone on the over. I do believe it's inflated a little bit, but 46, give me the over. Give me the over, Andy. I think it's going to do it.
Let's go over. Let's do it. Let's cash it in. Best bet. 6 of the last 7 games, Michigan, they are on a mission, have smacked that over. I think they're and here, this is a whole nother animal where Michigan's not just trying to make a statement. This is going to be a back and forth type of game. Ohio State has the playmakers on offense. I think they're going to open up that playbook. You're going to see a lot of vertical routes, scoring type of plays early. Michigan's going to have to keep pace. And I do think their quarterback is maybe not as good as advertised, but, he's kind of been on a short leash. They don't need to pass the ball. I think he's good enough and capable enough to move the ball through the air.
Yeah.
Be forced to keep up with Ohio State.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't believe that everybody's going to be wild about the over in the first half. I think they're going to be feeling each other out and all that kind of stuff. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, like you're saying, Andy, it's going to be knockout punch, knockout punch, knockout punch. I believe it gets to 46. I think the over is a very safe play.
I like the over as well. Well, you heard the horn. That means we're up against it. So let's take a minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. I've been enjoying my last fall pumpkin ale beer. Wick for Brains, one of my all-time favorite seasonals from NBC. The official beer of Halloween, crafted with real pumpkins, giving it a rich amber ale seasonal flavor, not found in many other pumpkin ales. Nebraska Brewing Company, world class in every glass. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And Welcome back, everybody, to WTL. That's Where's the Line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Klassen, on this very fine Thanksgiving Day, and I'm joined by
Jabron.
Oh, the Parlay Pounder.
You got it.
It is Thanksgiving Day, and there's a game like none other that everybody gathers around the table. They hurry up and get their first helping down so they can get out to the TV and watch a Big Ten clash, kind of a new rivalry here in terms of, traditions and things like that.
Yeah.
Conference realignment. That is the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. The Cornhuskers still move the needle, even though they're not quite having the season they expected. Iowa, for whatever reasons, everybody loves to talk about the Hawkeyes. But I'll tell you what, they're 8-2.
Yeah, and
9-2.
They're 9-2, Andy.
Yeah.
And there's no actual reason on the earth that Nebraska should be favored by 2.5 points here. This is absolutely crazy, especially after what we just saw at the Wisconsin game. I traveled out to Madison, Andy, and, I was one of those people going ballistic when we went up 14-0, thinking we had that in the bag because, our defense probably shouldn't allow Wisconsin to score 14 points.
Right.
But, we could only muster a field goal after that, after the first quarter, losing 24-17. Chuba, Purdy, to his defense, I thought he looked pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Had 169 yards with 1 TD and 1 pick, while also leading the rush with 105 yards, mostly on that one big play.
True.
I do not see us moving the needle a lot more against a very much better Iowa defense.
Much better is a great way to put that defense. And it just feels like that is one constant that the Hawkeyes have had last 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
That defense is going to bring it, and they're going to limit your offense and your offensive opportunities. And you can give Nebraska all the opportunities in the world, and it seems like they're not going to capitalize. I couldn't believe the end of the game decisions, not to beat a dead horse, but you had one scenario the week before, and it felt like you botched it, and then you followed it up and you botched it a whole new way.
Yep.
You had an opportunity in Madison to just sneak a win out on the road.
Yeah, no, we should have cracked this bowl eligibility thing 3 weeks ago against Michigan State. It's been a rough cookie to crack, or egg to crack, Andy, and I just don't see us doing it against a rival team in Iowa coming in here that doesn't allow a lot of teams to score any points. The biggest thing that we probably need to be talking about here, Andy, is that over-under, which is probably one of the lowest in college football history. It's at 26 points on my book right now.
I'm looking at 25.5.
See, that is absolutely disgusting. That is not college football. That is two teams that cannot score the ball. I can't believe it.
Now, this total opened up at 29.5, and people were kind of gawking, snickering at it. And we've been doing it too at the Hawkeyes all season long. Now Nebraska's right there with them, actually probably helping that under. It's been bet down to you have 26. I'm looking at some 25.5s. I'm still thinking under. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, the whole thing about this is that you got to kind of take, I'm getting pretty jazzed up over here as a Nebraska fan, but you got to take your emotion out of it when you're thinking about this game and these two teams playing against each other. Nebraska ranks 19th among FBS teams for points allowed per game with 18.7 this year. Iowa ranks 3rd in the nation for points allowed this season with only 12. That is not a lot of points there, Andy, but if you add those up, you get to 30. 6 of the last 7 games between Iowa and Nebraska have gone over. I just think, Andy, that a little late game scoring by Iowa is going to push this over. I believe the over is the best pick of the week for this game.
Yeah, obviously I would have liked to get on that total earlier when it was closer to 30 points. But there's a couple of differences here for Nebraska. No Casey Thompson. And more importantly, no Palmer. No Palmer Jr. He's in the NFL doing his thing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. and that he was key to pretty much the majority of Nebraska scoring last year, where they snuck out and won on the road, defeated Iowa, and I think that has a lot to do with this curious point spread here. People forget this line opened up as Iowa a 1-point favorite. Now it's been quickly got bet up to Nebraska, flipping that line as a 2.5-point favorite. And usually when I say, man, something's wrong, something's fishy here, and the old cliche, oh, Vegas, those bright buildings weren't built on nothing, stay away from that. I don't know. For whatever reason, I think Nebraska can get it done at home. We talked about the bowl eligibility, all those things, and I'm just not impressed with Iowa. They're 9-2. I'm impressed with how they've been able to win these games.
Yeah.
But there's just not a lot for me to go on here to feel good about the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, Andy, what you have to feel good about the Hawkeyes is exactly what you just said. They're 9-2 and they find ways to win the game. What is Nebraska's kryptonite? We have some good plays in the first and second quarters, and then we find ways to lose games. We play to not lose games. We do not play to win games. It's just the way it is. Nebraska has failed to cover in each of its last 6 games against AP ranked teams. Don't get it twisted. This 9-2 Iowa team is a force. They do not let people score. Nebraska's not going to be, blown any tops off here. No. I believe that Iowa sneaks away with scoring about 17 to 21 points on us, and we'll get our usual 10-13.
The real kryptonite has been the turnovers, right? Nebraska averages 3 fumbles per game, almost an interception and a half per game. Iowa themselves, they average a fumble and a half per game and less than an interception because they don't pass the ball. If Nebraska, and that's a huge if, can just limit, like I said last week, just limit the turnovers. I know they're going to turn the ball over. We can't do it. We got a 3rd, 4th-string quarterback in, whatever. The ball always hits the turf. I get it, but if it just don't have 4 turnovers per game, and I think you can win a game at home and get to postseason, be bowl eligible.
You know what? I totally hope that is the way it is. Might have been a little bit of karma right behind you there, Andy. The Cornhusker ball fell on the ground like a fumble. But I look at just like the Hawkeyes last week, very mediocre performance against a very mediocre team in Illinois, but Iowa took care of the ball. They held Illinois to just 280 yards and 18 first downs on the other side. I believe that's the way the Hawkeyes win this game.
Yeah, and it was also kind of an emotional embrace there. Iowa's last home game between head coach and his son, who's under a lot of scrutiny. But you can't argue with that. You are what your record says you are, right? And I was 9-2. And just before we got on here, I was talking to my wife about it. She's like, what? I was going to win. I was going to cover. What are you talking about? And you can't really come up with a good argument against it. Just like what you're saying. It's just so many times you've been pro Nebraska, but that's not going to be the case here on Thanksgiving Day.
They've let me down the last 3 weeks, Andy. They really have, and I just don't see any other way to go about this. This is the best defense that they've played in the last 4 weeks. And it just seems that as good as our defense is, Andy, we give up the points when it matters most. And, we break when it matters most, mostly in that 4th quarter after a big bonehead play by us, giving them the ball or missing a field goal or, an interception or fumble. So it just seems like that's the way it's going to go. Iowa's defense is the best one that we played in the last 4 weeks. Like I've said, I just think they kind of have our number.
Yeah, and they've had Nebraska's number minus last year in recent history, recent memory. They've been taking care of business against Nebraska. Would they win 6, maybe 7
in a row?
Yeah.
That was the quest for 7 last year, and we got them.
And we got them. Now we got them at home, and we're at 2.5-point favorites for some reason. Well, let me ask you why. Why has that line jumped from Iowa being a 1-point favorite, which I think a lot of people could agree with on the road, Big Ten conference game and all that stuff, to Nebraska being just under a field goal favorite?
Yeah, I'll give you a reason. Nebraska Nebraska people are just like me. We bet on the Huskers. We run it up. Vegas has to love us because no matter how bad we lose, how many more times we lose, it doesn't matter, especially against Iowa. We are betting on the Huskers.
Well, those sports books in Nebraska, they're not going to love us because we can't bet home games. So
That's right.
Have to go over to Iowa or Colorado or wherever, somewhere out of state, Kansas, to get your money in on the Huskers if you're leaning that way. We kind of talked about the total there. You're thinking they could actually smack that over.
I think the over is the only play here, Andy. You cannot feel good about betting an under 25-point line in college football. You just can't. I know that it's these two teams, but no matter what, this has to go more than 25, 26 points. It just has to. It just has to.
Never say never. I think Nebraska and Iowa has showed you a few times this year that it actually can go under 20.
I understand, but this is a big time game for both teams. They want to beat us just as we want to beat them, and we're going to leave it all out there. I will give it to Nebraska. We probably won't quit on Friday. We're going to leave it all out there for sure.
Yep. Okay. We're running into it here. We're getting towards the nitty gritty. Did you have a parlay play?
I do have a parlay play, and the entire state of Nebraska is going to hate me for this. It's a single game parlay against the team that we just talked about. It's the Iowa Hawkeyes. I got the Iowa money line. I got Iowa team points over 11.5, and then I got Iowa team total touchdowns over a half. Put them all together, putting $50 on this to win 124. I think it smacks. Iowa just has to win the game.
Boy, that all sounds very, very doable, doesn't it? What did you say, 11.5 points?
11.5 points, team total points, and then just to have one touchdown.
Yeah, and then a 0.5 touchdown. Wow. Yeah, and for whatever reasons, our defense does seem to give up a play here and there. And when you need just that one more stop, they've been able to do that, whether it's the end of a half, end of a game. And the offense doesn't help them. Don't get me wrong. The numbers
put them in horrible positions.
Yeah.
Put them in horrible positions the entire game. Like I said, our defense is a very good defense. Is as good as it is. They don't get off the field. They're tired. I understand why they give up the points and give up the plays that they do. It's just going to happen when your offense plays that bad.
Well, you're pro Hawkeye. I'm pro Nebraska for once this week, but I'm probably going to limit the amounts that I'm sprinkling on the Huskers. I think that's the prudent way every Husker fan should probably approach this game.
Yeah, I agree, Andy. But like, you still gotta love our boys out there. You see it at the sports book. Go Big Red. That's the reason that we're moving this line is because people still have a lot of encouragement that Nebraska can cover this game and win this game. I hope they're right. I just don't believe it is.
Well, that'll about do it for us. We're getting up against it here. For everybody listening to us on Tri-City ESPN Radio, 1460 AM, 92.1 FM. Up next is the Green Bay at Detroit game, and we're going to have a triple header for you on ESPN Tri-City Radio, so we got to wrap it up. So be sure to follow us on ESPN Tri-City Radio, their Facebook page. We always have those reels coming out, some short videos, our Twitter handle, and our YouTube channels continuing to grow. So much fun with those YouTube shorts and interacting with everybody.
Correct, Andy. Please follow us. Subscribe on all of our social media, please.
And you're going to be handling the TikTok duties, right? Those daily
No doubt.
clips?
Yeah, grab on. If you're on TikTok, find us at WTL Sports Betting. You'll find us, especially before primetime games.
For Jabron, the Parlay Pounder, I'm Andy Klassen. Thank you for listening, and a happy Thanksgiving to you and all your loved ones. This has been WTL.